We are back, Leadheads, the Talking Lead podcast. I'm your host, Left Hand, and this is episode 261, so welcome in, guys. Hope you caught last week's episode, 260, where we kind of did a recap of our European vacation, Talking Lead in Poland and the Czech Republic. We had a great time. Unfortunately, it was such a great time that we didn't have a lot of time to do the podcast, so it was kind of a rushed, kind of squeezed it in last day there at the range when we were at the range. But I plan on getting those guys back on. We're going to talk more detail about the trip. That awesome factory where they're making the tanks, Excalibur Army there. They're not actually making them, they're refurbing them. But they really are making them because a lot of the parts they make right there in-house. If they can't refurbish it, they'll make it. So it was a really cool place. Got more pics and videos of that coming. Let's go ahead and welcome in our guest this week, Mr. Andrew Breneman.
What's up, Deadheads?
What up, Drew?
Oh, not too much, man. How you getting along?
Doing good, man. We got a fun show planned for the Leadheads this week. I wouldn't say in honor, but in anticipation of the big tsunami. Is that what's rolling in?
Oh, yeah, it's going to be a bad hurricane. Real bad, real ugly.
Real bad hurricane's going to hit our East Coast, and Andrew's got a lot of family that's over there, so this is particularly hitting close to home for him. But we want to talk about disaster preparedness and things that you guys should be thinking about, not just for a hurricane, not any kind of disaster. So we're going to give you some things that you guys need to be thinking about to be prepared, be proactive. But before we get into that, I hear that jackwagon train rolling in, Andrew.
Choo-choo!
Bring it in, Gunny.
Hoorah, Semper Fi, do or die, hold 'em high at 8th and I. It is time for the Talking Lead Jackwagon of the Week, so brace yourself, baby.
All right, guys. So this week, we're going to start off with our listener-submitted jackwagons. And our first one comes from Ashley and Alex K. They actually sent a couple. I'm going to pick this one. This is kind of a funny one. And it's a football player out of Central Oklahoma. And a player loses his foot in a bizarre accident. You want to read that, Andrew?
Well, basically, I'm not going to read it word for word, but
sum it up for us.
They don't really say why he was climbing underneath the train, but there was a train that was parked on a track, and he decided he was going to belly crawl underneath it to get to the other side. And while he was crawling, the whole train fired up and started rolling and cut his foot off.
Completely severed his foot from his body.
Yeah, I hate to laugh at that, but at the same time, I mean, obviously there was an engine hooked to that train. There must have been some noise happening that would, indicate that maybe I shouldn't climb underneath this train.
Right.
Because it's about to start rolling. But yeah, he apparently didn't quite make it on the other side and had a foot completely severed.
Yeah.
And he was by himself, too. So he had to flag down a person that was walking down the street or something to call the ambulance for him.
Yeah, so he was able to flag down a nearby person who took him to a hospital. I hope they grabbed his foot and brought his foot with him.
I don't know.
Maybe
I think if it got severed by a train, I mean, I'm pretty positive they're not going to be able to sew that back on.
I don't know. I mean, medical wonders these days never ceases to. They can do a lot of different crazy things. So anyway, this guy was like a star football player. He was defensive, I think, dude, and like the week before he had all kinds of I don't think he was setting records, but he had a pretty good game. But
it was defensive back.
I think you're going to need both feet for that position. So
yeah,
whatever you were doing,
15 tackles in the first 2 games that season.
Yeah, whatever you were doing at the train station, I don't think it was worth it, dude.
Yeah. So kids at home, don't get drunk and play around trains.
Right. I saw this other video. That reminds me. I saw this other video on, I don't know if it's YouTube or Instagram, where it was, but there's these 2 dudes, 2 thugs. I mean, that's what I'm going to call them. And they had revolvers. They had a revolver. And you know the thing about putting a bullet in, spinning it, What was that
The old
called?
Russian roulette.
Russian roulette. They were doing Russian roulette with their foot. So they would take it, spin it, aim it at the other person's foot, and then pull the trigger. But here's the kicker, dude. The one guy had already been shot once in his foot, been to the hospital, had it patched. He had a bandage on the other foot. So he was going for round 2 with this. He didn't learn his lesson the first time. This was round 2, and he lost this one, too. So he got...
So now he's got a bullet in both feet.
2 bullets, yeah, one in each foot. Oh my God, it's ridiculous. And they're sitting there cussing each other as they're doing it.
It's like that scene from Harlem Nights when Eddie Murphy shoots Della Reese's pinky toe off.
Right?
Oh, you want to hit people with garbage cans. Now I got to cut you.
Girl, put that razor away. I ain't playing no more. You put that fucking razor away, I'm gonna blow your goddamn pinky toe off.
Oh, now you're gonna shoot me in my pinky toe.
I'm not playing with you. I will blow that little black, gnarled, crusty, dead motherfucker the fuck off your foot. Now put the razor away.
You must be crazy to pull your gun on me.
You gonna be the 9-toe having this limping this bitch in Harlem. You don't stop fucking with me. Now put the razor away.
Well, go ahead. Shoot, here it is. There it is. Shoot, quick, go ahead. Take your best shot. Oh.
And if you hadn't had that gun, she'd still be whipping your ass.
You know, y'all laugh at the wrong shit.
He shot me in my pinky toe.
I know, man.
I'm gonna put what's left of my foot in your ass. I'm gonna kill him, sugar.
Please, be careful.
I'm gonna kill him out.
Don't kill him. Just relax.
Oh, if I could get up from here.
Vera, we're gonna find your toe.
Oh, I'm gonna kill you.
You gotta stop overreacting.
Overreacting?
Yes!
Then get your old ass in the car.
Oh, man, fuck you. Next time you fight somebody, pick on somebody your own side. Get there.
This was a clean shot right in the top meat of the foot. You know where that bone is? You know that hurt.
Yes.
I don't know what that was all about, but yeah, it looked like it was like a 38 or 22. I don't know.
Yeah,
all right,
that guy
so yeah, that's our listener submitted Jackwagons there. We've got another one, and I got to see who this one is from. And this has to do with smart gun technology. So this comes from Giddy Up. Says Giddy Up says came across this on TTAG, The Truth About Guns, this weekend. So the smart gun manufacturers seem to be anti-gun as well, ? I guess we should be thankful for their help. I include the Huffington Post article underneath as well. So he's got some links to these articles that we're going to reference. He says, I can't remember when someone's carry gun was last used in a school shooting because it wasn't locked up. Anyway, I hope this message finds you and yours well. Hopefully not too jet-lagged after the world travel. Keep up the great work. Sincerely, Giddy Up. So what he's referring to, Huffington Post, your carry gun causes school shootings, and it's by Kat Ainsworth. This was September 9th of this year. And here's a quote from Gareth Glasser. He's the CEO of smart gun maker Lodestar Firearms. He says, most gun owners are very responsible and keep their guns locked up in a gun safe or something similar, but the exception to that is the one gun that they think they need for self-defense. They think they need. Really? They think they need? Okay. Keep on. That gun needs to be close at hand, and it's that gun that is, unfortunately, causing so much damage because your little kid finds it or your teenager takes it to school and uses it either to harm themselves or carry out these school shootings. This is a direct quote from the CEO from the Lodestar Firearms manufacturer. They're making this smart gun technology. I think it's the ones where it identifies through RDI, RFI?
Yeah, I think it's when you have a smart watch or some shit that makes it work.
Yeah, you got to have a watch. You got to be wearing this watch that activates and releases the firing mechanism on the gun.
Yeah. I think that's the technology. It doesn't really get into the technology of the gun in the article.
Right. So I mean, there's not really an article. She just
Yeah.
What I'm seeing right now is just this, unless I click on this guy's name. Yeah, okay, here it is. So can a smart gun crack the firearms market? Philadelphia-based startup Lodestar Firearms sees a path to mainstream success. So obviously he's using this scare tactic to try to sell his less than desirable product. I think it's been pretty much stated that the majority of firearms out there don't really care for this smart gun technology in its current state. I just don't think it's there yet to be released publicly. And then, of course, what a lot of people see are they're looking down the road and seeing the government making it mandatory to carry these type of safety mechanisms for your firearms, which, there's a lot of cons. I think the cons far outweigh the pros on these to date.
Yeah, I got to agree with you on that, Lefty. I mean, the thing about it is, I'm all for, somebody, trying to invent new technology, trying to work out something. And, maybe one day this guy's going to come out with a product that actually will work and is great. But just the fact that he is supposedly in the firearms industry and says something that ignorant and stupid just tells me that this guy has no freaking clue about firearms, and he's just trying to make a bunch of money.
Yeah.
And you're right. It's dangerous because you already have states like California that have preemptively passed laws requiring smart gun technology and micro stamping and technologies that don't even exist yet, and they've already put them into law. You've got New York trying to do the same thing, and when you have companies like this coming out with obviously not perfect product, I mean, the guy doesn't even have a finalized prototype yet.
Mm-hmm.
And then throwing out just ignorant scare tactics that are just completely, just stupid and not true. I mean, he basically just made some shit up and said it.
Right. And that technology I was trying to think of, it's the RFID technology.
Yeah.
To unlock the gun. And that's what, it's used in other applications as well. So tactical walls, that's what they use for their release on their gun lock for their furniture.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's got its place, but not with a firearm. Definitely not. So yeah, welcome to the Jackwagon Train, Lodestar CEO, and of course the Huffington Post, because we know what side they're on.
They're always on the Jackwagon Train.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
Welcome Gareth Glasser, CEO of Lodestar Firearms, to the Jackwagon Train.
Boom. There you go. Have you got anybody you want to submit to the Jackwagon Train? Anybody just rubbed you the wrong way the last week or so?
People rub me the wrong way every single day, Marty. I can't help myself. But I'm gonna say Florence the Hurricane is on my Jackwagon Train this week.
There you go. That's a good one. So we will get into that, but as always, guys, make sure you go and support those that support the Talking Lead podcast. Without them, the show wouldn't be possible. The official optics of Talking Lead is Right On Optics. Check them out at rightonusa.com. They were running a Summer of Color special. I think that has since expired, but they have got some great optics, some great scopes. And you guys make sure you go check them out, rightonusa.com. Like I've talked about in previous episodes, the 1-8 has been released. It is ready. They've got it in the first and second focal plane. They've got a tactical version and a hunting version. So you guys make sure you go and check those out. And then we've got more to come from them. We're going to get our good buddy J-Mac back on, and we're going to do another class for you guys, 101, Optics 101, and get you some learning done on optics. The official wristwear of Talking Lead is Defi Watches and Smith & Bradley Limited Watches. Just made a post, and this was, I guess, the cat's out of the bag, but we were going to have Jeremy on to make this announcement and talk about the cool things that they are involved with, and they're actually being featured in a upcoming Bruce Willis movie. I think it's called 10 Minutes Gone is what it's called. And obviously it has something to do with time. and the main character, Bruce Willis, and a lot of the supporting characters there are going to be wearing the Smith & Bradley, I think it's the Sands 13 watch. But we'll get Jeremy on to talk more about that. I don't want to ruin his thunder, so we'll let him get on and talk about that. But it's called 10 Minutes Gone. You guys check them out, DefiWatches.com, SmithBradleyLTD.com. So, Andrew, yesterday, today's the 12th as we're recording this. Leadheads are going to hear this probably the 13th or so. Yesterday was the 17th anniversary of 9/11.
Yeah.
And, that hits hard for most Americans, most red-blooded Americans. There are some, and this probably goes back to the Jackwagon Train too. I saw some some inappropriate posts by companies that were using 9/11 to push and promote sales of their products. And I thought that was in poor taste. I'm not going to name any names because there were several people just on the defensive yesterday on advertising that they had posted. So those go back to the Jackwagon Train as well. But this ties into what we're going to talk about today with the hurricane coming in on the East Coast, 9/11. I mean, you just never know when disaster, a catastrophe is going to happen. So you always want to be ready. You want to be prepared for that. And I know this is probably a topic that a lot of shows, a lot of people are talking about. You're probably, getting your feel of it, but it's important. It's important that you're prepared not only for yourself but for your family and your loved ones to be able to get through and survive whatever kind of catastrophe or disaster that hits you. So what Andrew and I are going to talk about are just some basic things. Obviously, we'll probably delve a little deeper into some things as we get to talking. But Andrew, with this hurricane, you're no stranger to hurricanes because you're from that area.
Yep.
You've had your taste of hurricanes, and being here in Tennessee, we get those tornadoes, nasty tornadoes. We've had floods here as well.
Yep.
Had some nasty floods. But, if you're in California, you get those fires. You get those raging fires over there in California. You get
landslides,
mudslides, earthquakes. And not so much in our country as in some other countries, but you get, outbreaks of diseases and viruses that can be very devastating. So, you ask yourself, how, if I don't know when it's going to hit me or what's going to hit me, how can I be prepared? Well, you want to look at the basics. You want to look at your food, your water, your shelter, medicine, that type things. So we're going to kind of go over that with you guys now. So what, and maybe not in any order of importance, but what would you think would be the most important thing that you'd want to have on hand for any kind of disaster?
One thing, it's the basics. Obviously, food and water are the number one thing you have to have. You can't live without those two items.
But even those two, water, I think, would be the most important because that's
you can live a lot longer without eating than you can without drinking. So
so water, I would think would be your very first priority on something that you would want to have access to. And rule of thumb, people say 3 days worth of food and water. A gallon of water per person per day is what they recommend. So you want to plan accordingly to the size of your family and loved ones as you're preparing. What would you say would be the best way to store water?
All right, so I grew up in somewhat of a prepper household, so I've been exposed to this stuff my whole life.
Yeah.
One of the big things to do, especially in a hurricane area, at a time when there's something happening, that there's going to be a problem, the easiest and most cost-effective thing to do is I have a bunch of collapsible jugs. I simply fill them up and stack them in my kitchen.
Yeah.
So that's definitely the most cost-effective thing to do because you don't have to go out and buy a bunch of bottled water, a bunch of jugs of water. Just fill it up on your tap and have it ready to go. Obviously, that isn't always the case. You're not always going to know that a disaster is going to strike. It can be something like a tornado or an earthquake, those kind of things that just pop up and you don't know it's happening.
Or a zombie outbreak.
Exactly. In that case, I'm a huge proponent of the life straw. It's lightweight, doesn't take up much space, it's fairly inexpensive. If you take care of them, keep several of them. Don't just keep one, because if you have a malfunction with one, you're screwed. So, two is one and one is none, just like with everything else. You might want to get a couple of them. I think that's a really handy way. Yeah, and then the other way,
per person, because you want everybody to have their own kind of straw, especially with the disaster coming, you don't know what's happening. So maybe there's some kind of virus or contagious thing going around.
Absolutely, and I mean, there's all kinds of water filters on the market. I'm just using life straws because you can buy them at Walmart.
Yeah, some sort of water filtration device.
Yeah, that's gonna be probably your best bet. You can also store water long term to keep it from going stagnant. You can just put it in jugs, store it under your house, store it in your attic, whatever. What you want to do is just put a splash of bleach in there, a little extra chlorine to keep the water from going stagnant and keep it good.
Yeah, there are over-the-counter things that you can buy to put in water too to help.
Yep, absolutely.
Preserve.
I mean, you can buy canned tablets. Water.
Well, yeah, I mean, you can buy canned water, but there are additives that people sell that for long-term storage of water.
Absolutely.
So you guys can check into that as well. But yeah, definitely water is going to be your prime number one resource that you're going to want to stock up on. And like we said, rule of thumb, this comes from FEMA and Red Cross and, a lot of the preppers, and more doesn't hurt. The more the better, but at least 1 gallon per person per day is, a general rule of thumb for that. And you're going to need that water for not just drinking, but you're going to need it for, sanitary things as well, for cleaning, maybe wounds, or just, daily cleaning to keep yourself from being funky, from being nasty, stinky, funky.
Yeah.
But that's not a number one priority in survival, is, smelling good, looking good. You want to take care of your needs, your food and your drink. So let's talk about food. As far as that goes, what kind of food should people be storing? How should they store it? How much should they store?
Marty, we all talk about a 72-hour kit. That's the rule of thumb. You want to have 3 days of food, water, fuel, power, whatever. 72 hours though is not necessarily true. I mean, when I was younger, we had an ice storm. We didn't have power for a week and a half.
Right.
After Hurricane Hugo in North Carolina, we were out of power for just shy of 2 weeks.
Wow.
So having 72 hours worth of food at your house isn't going to help you when you can't buy food for 2 weeks. The grocery stores were empty. Remember that the grocery stores in this country have less than 3 days worth of food in them.
Yeah.
So if they're not getting deliveries, they're not getting trucks, they're not going to have food for you to buy. So having food in your house is an important thing in general. Of course, you've got all the freeze-dried buckets you can buy, and those are great. Don't get me wrong; those are absolutely great. It's always a good idea to have some dehydrated food. You have the supplement bars you can buy that the high calorie content bars. Like I keep those in my go bag.
Mm-hmm.
Something like just having canned goods, man. Just having canned goods in your house.
Yeah. So non-perishable food obviously is something that you want to keep. Canned foods, the dry, like Andrew said, the dry freeze kind.
Yeah, your MRE type food.
MRE type foods, something that's easy to open. Make sure you got a can opener just in case. I mean, maybe you've stored all this other stuff, but then you run across another food supply, and there's cans, and you don't have a freaking can opener or something to open up a can. It's good to have one of those on hand too. But easy to store. You want to keep it in a cool, dry area. So, like Andrew was saying before, maybe under your house, in a place in your garage that's cool and dry, or inside your house. And calories are essential. So you want high calorie type foods like peanut butter, energy bars, nuts are a good source. Nuts store for a long time as well. Easy to keep.
Speaking of the calorie thing, that's one of the pitfalls for food storage. Be very careful when you're buying that dehydrated food and those meal ready to eat type products. Be wary of what the things say when they say, 3 meals a day for 2 weeks. Yeah, they have 3 meals per day for 2 weeks that equal up to less than 2,000 calories.
Yeah.
So make sure you look when you buy that stuff. Look at the calorie content. Don't look at what the box says.
Yeah.
Don't say, okay, well there's 100 servings in this box. You sit down with the calorie content. Really, there's only 60 servings in that box.
Yeah.
So make sure you guys do your due diligence when you're buying these products. If that's the way you want to go, you want to buy those products. Make sure you look at the calorie content. But you don't have to spend the money on that kind of stuff too. Like I stress, don't go. You don't need to go out and spend $1,000 to be prepared for a storm or for any type of emergency. I mean, buying some cans of pork and beans and keeping them in your cupboard and rotating them, once every year, is perfectly fine.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just keep that in mind. We're not saying that, oh shit, you're not gonna be able to keep, protect your family and keep them safe and be prepared for a storm unless you have, a couple $1,000s to spend.
And I got news for you guys: ramen noodles aren't the kind of things you want to stock up on.
Nope.
I mean, that's something that you can add to your tuna, maybe that you've stocked and saved up, but just ramen noodles alone, you're not going to survive. It's not going to work, dude. But there are other type pastas that are enriched with nutrients and whatnot, but not ramen noodles. So, just
damn, Marty, you're hating on the ramen.
No, dude, I love ramen noodles, but I mix stuff in with it. I'll mix my chicken, my tuna, and I'll add flavoring and stuff like that to it. But it's just more of a filler than anything. It has no nutritional value whatsoever.
Oh, you're right.
Another thing, if you've got a baby, something that I don't think about because I don't have a baby, I don't have a kid, but a lot of people do. You want to keep supplies for your baby. The formula, the baby food. You want to keep at least a week's supply of that on this
diapers.
3-day. Diapers, just things that I don't know what babies need. I've never had a baby, Andrew, so.
I don't have a baby either.
I can't talk to that.
I got a lot of babies in my family, but
right.
I don't personally have any. But yeah, they need food and they need diapers and wipes and stuff like that. And of course, nowadays everybody's on 20 different medications. So make sure if your kid's got asthma or allergies or whatever it is, make sure that you always have an extra bottle of medication in your house.
And we're getting to that. To that. You're jumping ahead.
Sorry.
So we're still on food. So on food, another thing that you're going to want, again, is access to the food. So if it's a can, you want to have something to be able to get into that can, whatever it may be. You can eat with your hands and you can makeshift, things to eat with, but plastic forks and knives and spoons, you might want to keep some of those on hand. I necessarily wouldn't say a plastic one. I would just say, if I'm going to have one, have a nice, metal spoon or fork or knife.
And you get those little combo spoon fork deals pretty cheap at like camping stores and stuff.
Yeah. You can get cookware and all kinds of things that's easily stored and easily deployed. Anything else on food that you can think of that might be a good tip for listeners?
Are we going to talk about food preparation or is that another section?
We can talk about food preparation, since we're talking about food.
Yeah. So, another thing that's a great thing just to have in general is some sort of portable cooktop or stove. Mm-hmm. They're fairly inexpensive now. If you've got one, great. Make sure you have extra fuel for it. Like I was telling you about being out of power for long periods of time. I mean, we cooked on a camp stove for 2 weeks. We had 3 of our neighbors were coming to our house because they didn't have any way to prepare any of their food. They didn't have any type of. They had an electric stove, and that's all they had, a microwave, which neither of those worked.
Yeah.
So luckily, my family had prepared very well and had plenty of fuel, so it wasn't a big issue. But we ended up, there was our close neighbors and friends. They didn't have any way to cook any of the food they had. If you got a grill, a gas grill. Maybe a good idea is to keep an extra propane tank, handy.
Sure.
You don't have to go out and buy another stove, but if just be prepared and be thoughtful about it and have extra stuff ready to go.
Think about the resources that you have around your house. Things that you don't have to go out and spend money on.
Yep.
But perfect example was the gas grill. Keep an extra propane tank around.
Yep.
For those situations, because you may be in a flood situation and all the wood is wet and you can't make a fire.
Yeah.
But that's another thing.
Or you might live in an apartment. Where are you going to make a fire?
Yeah, you might live in an apartment.
So a gas cook stove, a gas grill, some way to actually cook food. And, obviously you can store food you don't have to cook. But, just having something warm to eat is pretty comforting when you're in a bad situation. That's
a good point. Very good point. But then again, the foods that you're storing and keeping, you want foods that you can eat cold as well that don't necessarily have to be cooked. So keep that in mind as well. But like you said, it'd be a nicety, and if you have
a psychological thing. When you're in a long-term situation like that for days and days and days, it's amazing what a small psychological boost can do.
Yeah.
Just to make it not so damn miserable.
Exactly. That's a good point.
Yep.
So then that brings us to, let's go ahead and you're talking about fuel. So not only fuel for your stoves and be able to cook with, but fuel for your transportation.
Absolutely.
Your generators, if you've got a generator on hand, that's a great asset commodity to have for these type of events that we're talking about. And depending on, what yours uses, you want to keep that type of fuel. You want to have extra, probably, how much would you say, good rule of thumb, 10 gallons?
I keep 15. I keep 3 5-gallon jerry cans with fuel stabilizer. That's for me, and that's kind of just where my number is. I know that I can get about 300 to 350 miles with that 15 gallons of gas.
Yeah.
It really hits home right now talking about this fuel situation. There are people in North Carolina right now that are being ordered to evacuate, but they can't leave because there's no gas. The governor's, trying to get gas trucks down to the coast because the gas stations want to be gassing them.
Right.
So, if you have the opportunity to evacuate, you have warnings like with a hurricane, you always freaking evacuate.
Yeah. Get out.
But make sure you have the tools to self-evacuate. Don't think the government's going to rescue you. You can look at, Hurricane Katrina is a prime example of thousands and thousands and thousands of people who just stood there and thought the government was going to help them.
Yeah.
Don't wait for them to help you. Make sure you have the means to help yourself.
No, and a prime example is, you're waiting on the government, you're waiting on your local law enforcement, EMT people to come. They come after the fact.
Yeah.
All this is after the fact is when you can hope for some sort of relief or rescue from the government. It's reactive. They're not proactive. They give you the warning. They leave it up to you. You have to take the responsibility for you and your family to heed those warnings and do what we're saying, right? Either stock up and prep and wait it out or get the hell out of there. In this case, they've given plenty of notice to people. Like, this is coming. It's what's supposed to hit Friday or Saturday?
Yep. Saturday, I think it's supposed to hit landfall, like main center, like on Saturday.
But what a lot of people are done, like you said, they've gone and they've raided the grocery stores. Grocery stores are empty. Gas stores are, gas is empty. All the lumber companies, Lowe's, Home Depot, sold out all their lumber, their everything. And this is people who didn't plan ahead that have gone and done this, and unfortunately, the majority of the people are going to be out, and they're not going to be able to get these resources.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So don't plan on being able to just go down to your local Walmart and get the water, get the food, get the whatever you need, because it ain't going to be there.
Precisely. So, and like I said, 3 5-gallon gas cans, 15 gallons of gas, the fuel stabilizer. It's called Stabil, and there's several brands of it, but make sure you use that fuel stabilizer. With the amount of ethanol that's in gasoline now,
fuel
goes bad a lot faster than it used to. And people say fuel go bad. What the hell? Yeah, fuel does go bad.
It does.
So just so everybody knows, it starts to separate, and it does eventually go bad and turns into more or less shellac.
There are companies.
After years.
There are companies that make really good money going around to commercial businesses and reconditioning their fuel for them. One of our lead heads actually does that. Patriot, I think it's called Patriot Fuel. Yeah, is the name of his company. But yeah, fuel does go bad. What would you say would be the best storage method container for fuel?
I use steel jerry cans.
Steel?
Yeah.
You think that works better than plastic?
No, they both work fine. It's no big deal.
Okay.
I just have them, and they used to be cheap. They're not cheap anymore, but
sure.
You used to be able to pick up jerry
cans. I didn't know if there might be an advantage, because I don't know if there's an advantage of storing your fuel in a metal container versus a plastic container.
If there is, I don't know it, but I can tell you one thing: you've got to use the fuel stabilizer. And
either way, yeah, you got to.
I rotate my gas out once a year.
Okay.
So I will pour that gas into my truck, and then refill those jerry cans once a year, and I write a date right on the top of them. I think the fuel stabilizer will keep it for 2 or 3 years.
Sure,
is what it says. But I just, as just me being
just being on top of things, being proactive.
I'd like to rotate mine out once a year.
It's being proactive, and that's what you should do. If you're able to do that, then do that. Yeah. If not,
the last thing you want is for you to be sitting there with your family and knowing you need to leave, and you're not able to leave because you don't have any gas.
Exactly.
That
brings me to another point. Your vehicle. Make sure your vehicle is in tip-top condition always. Tires, battery, belts, the oil changed. Keep your vehicle in great condition. And I know some of you guys actually have vehicles for just such occasions, and they just sit there. They're sitting there for year after year after year. So you want to make sure that, after they sit there, tires get dry rotted, belts get dry rotted. The fuel, like you said, gets contaminated in the tank. So you want to make sure that you are frequently going and checking and changing out those things, starting it up, driving it a little bit here and there. Okay, so fuel. Any other tips on fuel?
Yeah, I mean, like we talked about, a propane tank for your grill. If you've got a camp stove, make sure you keep some of the small propane cylinders on hand. You can keep those for umpteen years. I mean, those things will store forever. The small little propane tanks and those things can be used for if you've got a lantern, you can use it for that. You can use it, obviously, for a cook stove. So, yeah, definitely make sure that whatever you got that uses fuel, and that you have fuel and plenty of it for those those devices. And
exactly.
And we'll go ahead and lump batteries into fuel.
Okay,
because that's really what batteries are.
Yep.
Batteries are fuel for your flashlights, for all the electronic equipment you might need.
Radio, want a radio.
Always have a radio in your house, people. I know nowadays a lot of people don't even have a radio anymore because they use everything's their phone. On my phone, it's on my phone, it's on my phone. Yep. Guess what? Your phone's not going to work.
No, your cell service ain't gonna work now. You might have battery life for a little while.
Yeah, but that ain't gonna get you a radio station.
You can play Pokemon for a minute, but that's gonna be,
you're gonna be screwed. So buy a radio; they're not expensive.
And they even have radios that are inert powered. They crank them up, hand crank. They don't require batteries.
Yeah, I have a hand crank radio and I have a hand crank flashlight.
Getting both of those for your your survival kit.
Yep.
That way you're not reliant on the batteries. But and the same thing with batteries. Batteries have a shelf life, guys. They don't last forever.
Printed right on the side of them.
Yeah, printed right. And a lot of times, I mean, I'll buy batteries. I'll buy a brand new pack from the freaking store, and I'll go to use them, and they only last a week or so. It's like, holy shit. So I mean, even your batteries. I mean, you can't rely on your batteries. So try to get things that aren't reliant on battery power, but at the same time have those batteries just in case.
Yeah, get some batteries. I always suggest for your go bags, for your emergency kit, spend a little extra money and get the lithium.
Yeah.
Like the lithium AA's, those have a much longer shelf life, and they've got a little better power and last a little longer. So that's what I keep. Now, when I just use my regular stuff, man, I just buy some copper tops. I'm not saying I buy expensive batteries to put all my shit. Just but for your emergency kit, spend a little extra money and buy those lithium batteries because, like I said, they have more power and they store a lot longer.
They last a lot longer. Yep. So that's a good point. The items that you're storing that use batteries, I don't necessarily suggest that you store them with the batteries in them, because batteries can corrode and then they can ruin your device. So don't store them with the batteries in them. Have the batteries nearby so that they're easily found, and you can put them in whatever device that you need. All right. So
hey, sidebar on that, Marty.
Yeah.
I'm gonna give a shout out to Rayovac batteries.
Rayovac, okay.
So a lot of people don't know this, but when stuff corrodes inside of your devices and ruins them, there are 2 companies that actually cover that under a warranty. One is Energizer and one is Rayovac. I believe Duracell does, but I've never personally worked with Duracell on it.
Uh-huh.
But I had a trail cam. As everyone knows, it's hunting season, firing up. So I had a trail cam that stopped working. Didn't know why I wasn't taking any pictures. Had no power. So I opened it up, and the damn
batteries were
corroded in it. Ruined my trail cam. Tapped online. Went up, looked up Rayovac, and I'd used all Rayovac batteries in it. And boom, there it was. Printed off a little piece of paper, threw the trail cam in a box, mailed it to them. 2.5 weeks later, they sent me a check for $100 to replace my trail camera.
Nice. And did you have to send like a receipt or something with your trail camera, or did you just?
Nope. As long as the batteries were all Rayovacs and they weren't expired, that's all they required. And I sent it back. They sent me a $100 check for the replacement of my trail cam, and they sent me 6 brand new batteries.
Great tip, man. I did not know.
Yeah. So when your flashlight gets ruined, it gets tore up because it corroded, or whatever electronic device you have gets tore up because you forgot to take the batteries out of it. If you're using Energizers or you're using Rayovacs, they'll replace that device for you. They'll either repair or replace that device for you.
Great tip, man. That's probably the best tip of the day. I got
a $100 check for a trail cam I bought 15 years ago.
That's awesome, man. I've got several things that batteries have corroded and ruined over the years. I wish I'd have known that. Damn.
Yep.
All right, so and again, that gets us to other things that you want to keep on hand: the radios, the flashlights. You want to have some sort of light available to be able to, because when the power's out, obviously at nighttime it's going to be dark, and you're going to want to be able to see. So you want some great flashlight looms is what you want. You want something with high looms.
Yeah. I'll also say, being how I'm always the voice of the cheapness. Candles, man. Candles don't cost shit.
There
Get
you go.
A box full of candles and have them ready to go.
And
they're super cheap.
Yeah.
You can light your house up with them. You can light one in the bathroom. So
you can cook with them if you need to.
Yeah, definitely candles. Buy a big old box full of candles. They don't need to smell good. They don't have to be, Yankee candles. Just the cheapest, candles you can go get. White candles. Lots of them. Big box full of them.
There you go. That's a good tip.
And don't store them in your attic. They will get all mushy and weird.
And then as far as for torch, for making fire, what do you recommend? Just some strike fire matches?
Yeah, stormproof matches, always. I think, anybody who's got a go bag or an emergency kit, obviously you're going to need some matches in there. Make sure they're waterproof or in a waterproof container. A Bic lighter, unless it's really cold, Bic lighters are great. They'll hold fuel for years and years and years.
Those they make those candle lighters now, the bigger ones. Yep. Those things are great. They work good.
So you've got a lot of choices, but have more than one option. Don't just have a book of matches. Just because if your one option goes away, you're screwed. So definitely have multiple options for starting fire, and always have a flint. Can't stress that enough. They're so freaking cheap. You can go get one of those magnesium striker bars, with the flint on one side, the mag bar on the other side at like Northern Tool for like $2.
Oh yeah,
or
you can get them
Harbor
online.
Freight for like $2.
You can get them online all day for nothing.
Yeah, buy a bunch of them, people.
And you're going to need a good knife too. So when you buy your knife, a lot of the knives will come with those as well.
So definitely, have more than one option in your emergency kit. Have more than one option for fire. Don't just have one thing. Don't just throw a Bic lighter in there and think you're going to be good.
Yeah.
Have a Bic lighter. Have pack some waterproof, stormproof matches. Have a flint. Have several options.
Yeah, good idea. And then let's get into first aid. That's going to be another of the top things that you're going to want to have on hand are things to be able to help with injuries, sickness. So you want a great first aid kit, and you're going to want to pack that with all kinds of bandages, blister bandages, ACE bandages. You want antibacterial cream because there's going to be all kinds of infections and things like that are going to be possible, depending on the conditions that you're in. So that's something that you're going to want to keep on hand. Tourniquet, which is key in all med kits. We've talked about that on our show before. So this is going to go a little bit above and beyond your little EDC first aid pack that you're going to be carrying on your body. We talked with Paul Markle about that. They've got a great little ankle strap kit that's got
your trauma kit on it.
Yeah, the trauma kit.
Yeah.
So a great trauma kit. So with something like this that we're talking about, you're going to want to go a little beefier, a little bigger, and carry.
Yeah, definitely. We're talking an at-home type first aid kit. If your house doesn't have a first aid kit in it already, don't be a dumbass. Go out and get one now. You should always have one anyway. But just as talking about emergency preparedness, definitely let's double down on that first aid kit. Have, like Marty said, also try to keep a bottle of peroxide, a bottle of
alcohol,
peroxide, alcohol, and a jug of bleach. You should always have those three things in your house. For any type of these conditions, obviously bleach to clean, and alcohol and peroxide to clean wounds, to keep
saline.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that you can need and use that aren't very expensive, but lots of Band-Aids, little nicks and scrapes, especially say hurricane situation. During the day you're going to be cutting trees, you're going to be trying to clear debris, so you're going to get a lot of little nicks and scrapes and cuts and just things like that. So make sure you have some bandages and stuff on hand and a way to keep those wounds clean.
Yeah, absolutely. And then along with that, you're going to want you're going to want something to cut with, scissors. Make sure you got a good pair of stainless steel scissors. Needle, thread is going to be handy. But there are many, many websites that you can go to that already have these kits made up for you. If you want to buy them ready to go, you can do that. Cheapest way, obviously, is to go and put one together yourself, I'm sure.
Yep. You can go to the Red Cross's website, and they have a list of items.
Yeah.
You can literally just print it off and carry it to the Walmart or Dollar General, wherever you want to go, right. and pick up those items.
Red Cross, FEMA's got. You can go to FEMA's website. They've got all kinds of tips and tricks for preparing for disasters as well. So yeah, first aid kit and things that go in that. And again, medication. Andrew was talking earlier about, people have just all kinds of medications now that they're taking, prescription meds. You want to make sure you keep a good stock of your, if it's life type prescription meds, then, life and death meds, you want to keep those in stock. So, you got a heart
Listen
problem.
Up, people. The pharmacy is not going to be open.
It's not going to be open. And I guarantee you, your local dealer on the corner is not going to be there either.
I hope you don't have a smack addiction, because you're going to be going through withdrawal, guys.
Right. Well, and that brings up another good thing is during a disaster, you don't want to start, getting all drugged up. You don't want to drink to excess. You don't want to, get into taking your drugs, your marijuana, I don't know, maybe you want to smoke marijuana. You want to be cognizant of everything around you, because it could be dangerous times. So you want to be aware of your surroundings, the people that are around you. So you don't want to be in an altered state of mind when going through a disaster or something like this. So stay off the drugs. That's going to serve you very well, trust me. But for those who have the prescription meds, and it's a matter of life and death to have those, you want to make sure you've got extra of those as much as you can. Obviously, they'll let you have. But for babies as well, you want to stock up on that.
I think they recommend having a 30-day supply. And I think that your doctor will actually recommend this.
Yeah.
I know for my grandfather, I have an almost 100-year-old granddad. He'll be 100 in November. He's
catching up with my grandma.
Yeah, I know. He's trying to get there.
He's trying to catch my grandma, yeah.
So, yeah, think the day
We should
or
hook
two
them
after-
up.
Well, he's in North Carolina, and
she's in
when they get to be
Tennessee.
that age, they don't travel so well.
Yeah. Well, he needs to get his ass out. He needs to evacuate.
Oh, yeah,
You
no
need to
doubt.
bring
But-
him up here. I'll bring my grandma up and we'll introduce him.
Absolutely.
Grandma Nail.
But what they say is to have a 30-day supply of all their life, their
prescription.
their prescription medications that are
Life
vital.
dependent. Yeah.
Yeah, they're vital prescriptions. Have a 30-day supply. And I know what my parents do. They take care of my granddad. Is they just rotate. So every month when they pick up his monthly prescription, they take the bottle that they picked up last month, and that's the one they use for that month, and they have a 30-day supply on hand.
Cool.
So if you have, and I'm pretty positive most people who have medications that if they don't take, they will die, their doctor has discussed it with them. And if he hasn't, you discuss it with him and say, hey, I need to get, an extra 30-day supply of X medication to be prepared. And
Right.
I'm sure if they don't have a script, they will be happy to write you a script for a 30-day supply.
Good point. And then, of course, your non-prescription medicines like aspirin and Tylenol, pain reliever type things, antihistamines, anti-diarrhea medication. You probably want to stock up on that because, maybe some of the water
Maybe some Gas X after I ate 10 cans of Beanie Weenies. We're going to need some Gas X up in there.
and some aerosol.
Yeah, get some Febreze.
You get you a thing of Febreze.
A little potpourri and a spray.
But, that's something that would be, for headaches and minor aches and pains, you want to keep that stuff on hand. And again, that's got a shelf life too. So, don't store your aspirin for 3 years and expect it to work, when disaster hits. So that's stuff you want to rotate out as well.
I'll give another good tip that I have just for overall storage and stuff like that. If you guys don't have a vacuum sealer, like a food saver, find a friend that has one, buy some bags. Those things are phenomenal for storing emergency preparedness stuff. You can, vacuum seal medications, vacuum seal batteries. I vacuum seal loaded magazines, Marty.
Loaded ones?
I load up 30-round mags and I vacuum seal them.
Now, do you rotate those out for
Yeah,
the springs?
Once a year. I kind of I put a date on them.
Okay.
And just rotate them out.
That's not something that we've got into yet. I mean, obviously, we're going to be talking about the firearms and your ammunition and stuff like that too. But this is, this is life, things that you need to survive. You got to have this stuff.
But yeah, you can vacuum seal.
Self-defense and protection. That's something that we're going to talk about in a minute. Toiletries. You're going to want to stock up on some good toilet paper, man, because I got to tell you, after being in Europe, I really appreciate freaking Charmin, man.
Would they have corn cobs over there in Poland?
They had something that John Wayne wouldn't use on his butt.
Oh, the old John Wayne TP.
It was like 15 grit sandpaper, man. It was everywhere I went too. It was bad. So that's something that you definitely will appreciate in a disaster is your toiletries, your
get you some good striking paper.
Some good striking paper. Waterless shampoo, antibacterial soap, hand soap. And as Andrew mentioned earlier, if you got a baby, your diapers and your wipes. And you might deodorant too. You might want to throw some deodorant in there just for the people around you. Keep you smelling fresh and so clean.
And definitely put some Gold Bond in there.
Yeah. Yeah. Because, if you're in a flood situation, it's wet all the time, you're going to get chafed.
You'll get that swamp ass.
And your feet, too.
Yeah.
That's another thing. You want clothes. You want dry socks. You want good, sturdy boots and shoes. Tough clothes, that you could wear for days and are going to take a beating. So, you're not going to want to put your freaking Chuck Connors on and start traipsing around looking for food or for your family or, anything, or hiking to try to get to the next safe place. Make sure you got, clothing that's applicable to hard situations as well. Shirts, jackets, hats.
Rain gear.
Yeah, definitely you want to stay as dry as possible, so make sure you got socks and extra pair of shoes would be good, extra pair of boots. I just came across a new company called Altai Boots. Mm-hmm. And I've been wearing their boot now for about 3 or 4 months. And I took it to Europe with me over there, wore it over there, doing all the traipsing around and tank riding and that we did. And they've held up really good. I've taken them out in the rain and the wet, walked through ankle deep water, and they've stayed completely dry on the inside.
Do they look cool?
I think they look like a good boot, man. I mean, there's just like a boot you'd want to wear. They've got black, they've got tan, they got several different colors. I think they're just one standard design on them right now, but comfortable. Like I said, we did tours while I was over in Europe, and I wore those boots, and we walked for probably 10, 15 miles on some of these tours that we did around the cities. Mm-hmm. And I didn't even think about my feet, that they were that comfortable. So cool. They're not a sponsor of the show or anything like that, but it's a product that I came across here recently. It's called Altai. I don't know how you spell it. I've made some posts on social media so you guys can go and check those out. You know those butt cleaners they got over in Europe, the bidets, is that what they call them?
Yeah, you like that?
Well, I didn't know what it was. I'm sitting there at my toilet and I'm seeing that, and I got these boots on and they're dirty, and I'm like, oh, that's a boot cleaner. So I just throw my boots over there and clean my boots off with it. And these boots clean
You're
up
such
that
an
easy.
asshole American.
I know. I was told that a couple of times.
I'm sure.
But yeah, so clothing, that's another thing that you're going to want to definitely consider. And then we talked about some tools. You want to have a knife, you want to have a can opener, you want to have matches, candles, batteries, bleach, flashlights,
chainsaw, gas for your chainsaw.
If chainsaw, if that's something that or a handsaw, keep a handsaw.
Got a tree through your house. There's nobody coming for a week to help you. You're gonna have to get it off yourself.
If you've got pets, you don't want to forget about your pet either.
Don't forget about your critters.
All these same rules apply for your pets. So the food and the med and the water, you want to plan for Fido too.
You got to worry. What do you keep about 200 pounds of dog food to keep Oshi fed?
Well, he's on a diet now, so we cut it down to 150 pounds.
Okay, good deal.
150. But yeah, that's something that people don't really think about either, are their pets. So tools, I think our firearms would fall into tools.
Absolutely.
That would be a tool. So let's talk about some good prepper mentality for your firearms. And type of firearm would be great for these type conditions, ammunition, that type thing.
Yeah, absolutely. I think most of the people who listen to the show are obviously somewhat interested or somewhat experienced with firearms anyway. So I'm not going to get real basic. But yeah, you're going to need your gun. You're going to need some ammunition. You're going to need to keep that stuff dry.
Yep. And you gave a great suggestion. You got one of those vacuum seal things.
Yeah.
Vacuum seal your ammo. Vacuum seal your magazines.
My go bag has vacuum sealed loaded mags in it. They're easy to tear open. Obviously, my carry gun, I'm going to have a mag in it. But my extra mags, I keep them like that because you don't know. You might be in waist deep water somewhere. And obviously, a little bit of water isn't going to hurt them, and they're still going to work. As long as you're using a good quality ammunition. Mm-hmm. But it's a whole lot better to have it dry.
Absolutely. It's going to work when it's dry.
Absolutely. So, obviously, if you got an EDC, you're obviously going to have that because you're going to be carrying it.
And of course, a lot of our listeners, they've got just the ammunition cans.
Yeah.
Metal ammunition cans that they're storing their stuff in. What's a good rule of thumb for storing your ammunition, and does it have a shelf life?
So we can talk about that for ages about the shelf life of ammunition. Right. I've shot ammunition that was loaded in World War I before. And it worked just fine.
Yeah.
So people say, oh, it doesn't last forever. It doesn't last da-da-da-da-da. If it's stored properly, I don't see that it has an end life. It'll be less reliable the older it gets. I will definitely say that. Mm-hmm. But yeah, shelf life ammunition, it'll last longer than you're going to last.
As long as you keep it in a cool, dry.
Yeah, as long as you have it properly stored, airtight containers, cool, dry place, that type of stuff. You're not going to be worried about your ammunition expiring. I regularly shoot ammo that I bought when I was 16, 17 years old.
So what's your ideal survival gun? What would you think?
I mean, I'm pretty old school, man. I still think that if you're only going to have one, it's a shotgun for me.
Yeah.
If I can only have one gun ever, it's going to be a shotgun, because I can get all kinds of different shotgun shells to do all kinds of different jobs. When you have an AR, you've got an AR. It shoots 5.56. That's what it shoots.
Mm-hmm.
You have a handgun, 9mm. It shoots 9mm. That's what it shoots. It's good for X, Y, and Z. With a shotgun, it's defensive. It's, hunting. It's big game. It's small game. It's, you can do everything.
You can chop a tree down with it if you need.
If you got enough shells, you can.
If you need to.
But so for me, I still think
door. You can blow open a door with it.
Yeah, I mean, your best all around, if you're only going to have one gun situation, is a shotgun. But I'm a 3-gun kind of person as a prepper. Handgun, shotgun, rifle. If you like AKs, great. AKs. If you like ARs, whatever. I don't care. Whatever your sidearm you're comfortable shooting, whether it's a Glock, whether it's a Smith, whether it's a, whatever.
Kel-Tec, whatever it may be.
Kel-Tec, whatever handgun you like,
Bursa.
have a handgun. Yeah, Bursa. Whatever you're carrying, whatever you shoot is fine. But have a handgun, have a rifle, have a shotgun.
But what people need to think about are, in times of disaster, obviously you want to be stocking up on the ammunition for the firearm that you have.
Yeah.
Eventually you're going to run out of ammunition if the disaster lasts long enough.
Yeah.
So something to keep in mind is, what's a more plentiful round that's out there? 22 in the past, a lot of people, 22 is the thing. I think AR-15s with the 5.56 223 are probably just as, or if not more plentiful nowadays than 22.
Pretty close to 9mm, of course, if you're talking handgun.
And 9mm, right. But, the 22 it's lighter. You're able to carry more of those.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, there's different philosophies on.
Yeah, absolutely. We could talk about this for days and days and days, but I think the main point is
never-ending debate.
We're talking about, a natural disaster. We're not talking about collapse of humanity right now.
No. So we're just talking about
we just say have a gun. Have a gun, have ammunition for that gun.
Whatever gun it is that you have, make
gun.
sure that you've got the ammunition for that and you've got plentiful.
Yep,
Whatever
absolutely.
plentiful is different to different people. So I'm not going to say 500 rounds. I'm not going to say 5,000 rounds. It's whatever you're comfortable and, you feel meets your needs. Same thing with the type of gun, whether it's a handgun, a rifle, a shotgun, a bow. I think everybody should probably have a bow and arrow, whether it's a crossbow or it's a compound bow kind of setup, because that's going to serve you well for longer,
long-term survival
scenarios for sustainability.
Yeah. I'm going to throw something else about in with the firearm thing, Marty. Obviously, have a gun, but if you have a family, you have a wife, you have kids, you might become incapacitated at some point. You may fall sick, be injured. Make sure the people in your family also know how to use the firearms that you're keeping at your house. Mm-hmm. So a 12-gauge shotgun that your wife has no freaking clue which end of the gun the bullet comes out is not going to serve her if something happens to you. So make sure that part of your emergency preparedness is also preparing your family to be able to survive. You may not be able to help them, so you've got to teach them to be able to take care of themselves. And one of those things is being able to keep be in charge of their own safety. So make sure that not only with the firearms, but make sure that your wife, your significant other, your kids, they know where the survival stuff is. They know where the food's at. They know where you keep the extra fuel. They know where the batteries are. They know where your go bag is.
And that goes to having a plan.
Yep.
A preparedness plan and practicing it, and with your family, with your loved ones, whoever it may be, that's going to be a part of your group during some sort of a survival scenario. And you can't just get this stuff and have it and sitting there and not know what to do with it. So you want to know how to use all this stuff, not only you but everyone in your group. And that goes with training and practice. And you have to do this, once a year, twice a year, as often as possible, obviously, but more frequent than not. You want to to train on this. Same thing with the guns. You go to the range, you get the proper training from the proper people on firearm safety, firearm use, different scenario usage. Same thing with first aid. More first aid than your firearms. You want to know how to use these bandages and these tourniquets and these medicines properly. Because if they're just sitting there in this bag and you don't know what they're for, it's as good as not having it.
Yep.
So
and don't think you're going to always be there to help out your loved ones. Make sure that you make sure that they can take care of themselves. Make sure that they have the tools and the ability to care for maybe even you while you're injured. So
exactly, because when
think about
disaster strikes, you might be in Europe.
Yeah. Or when disaster strikes, it may strike you.
Yeah,
you may be the person who gets hurt in the storm. You may be, the one that gets separated from the family. Yeah. So just make sure that
you guys want to go over that with your group also and have like a meeting point. It's like if anything ever happens, we get separated. Here's our plan of we meet here, we wait for so long. If it doesn't happen, then we go here. Then we do this. Or, if phones are available, make sure you've got everybody's contact information updated in there. You always want to have a contact that's outside your group as well. In case you can't get in touch with your group, you can get in touch with that person, and maybe that person needs to come in and do a rescue or something. So always have a contact or two outside of your group as well.
A couple of things in the tools too, Marty. This is more specific to hurricane, tornado, that type of situation, but have some tarps. They don't have to be super expensive ones. You can go get the cheap ones, but have a few tarps available.
A tarp?
You get a tarp.
Gotcha.
Yeah, you can do so many things with a tarp, but you get a hole in your roof, that kind of thing. You're going to want to have something to keep the water from pouring into your house.
Mm-hmm. Or you need to make a makeshift shelter.
You can make an emergency shelter. They're inexpensive. They're very useful.
You can drag stuff with them. You can load up your stuff and drag it and carry it with you. A hobo bag.
Have a few tarps in your garage or in your attic or in your closet or whatever. Grab a couple, just blue tarps. Doesn't have to be anything fancy, but a couple of those. That's a nice thing to have in general.
Yeah.
But when you come into an emergency situation, especially when we're talking about tornadoes and hurricanes, we're talking about damaging winds, trees falling, and then with the rain that's also with them, having a couple tarps could be very, very beneficial to you.
Good point.
Definitely want to have some tarps, plastic sheeting, whatever, just something that you could tack onto your roof if you get a hole in it. Make a makeshift shelter if you have to, if your home's destroyed, that type of thing.
Good point.
Have that together. Have something like that together. Basic tools if you have them.
Screwdrivers, hammers.
Yeah, if you're living in a house, obviously you probably have some of this stuff already. Some of you apartment dwellers out there, I'm sure not everybody listens to your show has a house and a family. Single guy apartment dweller, that kind of thing.
There's families that live in apartments as well.
Yeah, that too. So just be prepared to you may have to leave that apartment.
Yeah, you may, or you may need to barricade yourself in your dwelling as well, wherever that may be. So you want to make sure that your windows are properly operating. You want to make sure that your doors have the proper locks and shut and close properly, because you may have, you may need to barricade yourself inside your dwelling and protect yourself and your family and your assets. So all these assets that you've accumulated and saved to get you through that, other people are going to want that didn't plan ahead. So you want to make sure that you can properly barricade yourself where you need to be as well. So make sure your locks and windows and ingress, egress, everything's working properly for your domain.
Absolutely. Marty, just to wrap this up too, people, when they tell you a big giant storm's coming and they tell you to evacuate, don't be an idiot. Pack your shit up and take your family to safety. I hear this crap all the time. I grew up near the coast. Oh, I've ridden out 40 hurricanes and they ain't gonna tell I'm not leaving my house and da 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 da. Nothing in that house or that house is worth your family or yourself.
But then, and another thing to think about
move on
is if you're the dumbass that stays behind in something like this, then you're the one that people are going to risk their lives after the fact to try to come and save and protect. And
by your
don't put other
stubbornness could
people
cost
in
someone
danger.
else's life.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
don't be selfish. Don't be stubborn.
If they tell you to
Get
evacuate, evacuate. Don't be stupid.
And if you
Leave.
can't, I mean, for some reason you can't, physically, then call somebody. Call the police. Call the fire department. Call a friend. Have that contact outside your
Church,
group.
call somebody.
Yeah.
Yeah. Say, hey, I need help. I can't leave my house. Just
Right.
Call somebody, but get out. If they give you this much notice, like with a hurricane, it's coming. Leave. Don't be stupid.
So these are just some basic tips, tricks, suggestions, from two guys who, talk lead.
By no means are we experts. These are just
We're
suggestions.
not experts. These are suggestions, and everybody has different plans of attacks and different suggestions and different, philosophies of how to get through disasters. That being said, talkinglead@gmail.com. Send me your thoughts, your ideas, what you've got in place for a disaster, or, if you've got a specific disaster that you prepare for in different ways as well. Send that to me, talkinglead@gmail.com. And I'll read those next couple episodes. We'll read those off. So, Andrew.
Look forward to hearing what the leadheads have to suggest.
I know you got a lot of family and whatnot, and you're concerned about that storm coming through over there on the East Coast. Is there anything that we can do to help you guys out?
I mean, I think that my people are pretty smart and pretty well prepared.
I would think so.
But just everybody, just put out the old thoughts and prayers, like we always say.
And if you got somebody that lives there, if you got a family member that lives there, call them and tell them to get out.
Yeah, absolutely.
Encourage them to get out.
If they're not getting out, tell them to get out. And just there's really nothing you can do before, but you can do so much before. But afterwards, these people are going to need a lot of help. So, if you've got some extra money laying around and you can send it out to the Red Cross or somebody that's helping with that disaster relief.
Yeah.
Please do. If you can physically volunteer with a church, with a community group or whatever, and head down there and help clean up, please do. But yeah, we're going to need a lot of help. This one's going to be
speaking
really
of Sheepdog Impact Assistance, as you guys know, organization that Talking Lead supports and is part of, they are already gathering their disaster response team for this. And again, this is, what they're offering. This is after the fact. They can't come help you before. You can help yourself before and take all the necessary means that these people aren't going to jeopardize their lives coming to try and save you. But they are getting their disaster response team together to assist with debris removal, muck out, other recovery efforts. They're going to be bringing water. They're going to be bringing food. They're going to be bringing first aid. If you guys are able and you want to take part physically or monetarily, you can get in touch with Sheepdog at sheepdogia.org. You can call 479-800-4433, and whatever you've got to offer, they can definitely point you in the right direction. But Sheepdog Impact Assistance is always there for these type of emergency situations, and they're going to be right on top of this one as well.
Good deal.
All right, so before we go, Andrew, we've got another watch that we want to give away, the Defi Watches Talking Lead Fleoa 10 watches, scratch 14 watches for 14 vets giveaway.
Nice.
And this one is, I'm going to read the email like I normally do, and then I'll tell you who it's from. It said, I would like to throw my brother up for nomination. His name is Dylan S. I'm not going to say his last name. And he is a military law enforcement veteran. He spent a long time in Afghanistan and came back and spent several more years serving in the military. He then went into law enforcement and continued to serve in the National Guard. He has been active in training and self-defense law enforcement and military and continues to be very active in jiu-jitsu community. I bet his kung fu's not as strong as my kung fu. I made an Instagram post of where I cut the tree down for your firewood.
Nice.
And I made a little kung fu reference there. Anyway, you leadheads who saw that know what I'm talking about. His wife, I'm not going to say her name, is also a longtime law enforcement officer, and they are both great Americans who could use some wrist bling. Bling, bling, bling. Thanks for everything you do for our veterans, Tyler S. So, Tyler, we're going to hook up your brother and his wife. I guess I can say her name because I didn't say her last name, Danny, with Defi Watches. So they are the next two recipients. So Tyler, get in touch with me. Get me their contact information on where Jeremy needs to send those watches, and we'll make it happen. So Tyler S., you know who you are. braxmyboy@live.com is your email. Get in touch with me. Send me email, talkinglead@gmail.com, and we'll hook your brother and your sister-in-law up. So
Cool.
Thanks to Defi Watches and Fleoa for that. So I think that made, I gave one away last week, so we're giving two more away this week. 6, 7, 8, 9. I think we're 9 into it. So what's 9 minus 14?
I mean, 5.
5. It's 5. So we got 5 more watches to go. So you guys keep sending in your nominations, your suggestions on military, law enforcement, first responders who deserve a watch, who deserve a Defi watch. TalkingLead@gmail.com. Subject, I want the watch. Make sure you put that in the subject so it's easy for me to find and recognize what it's for. So very cool. One more thing before we go, Andrew. We got to give away some swag.
All right.
Haven't given away Talking Lead swag in a while. I'm going to go to iTunes. So we're going to go down to John Adams III. I guess that's John Adams III.
Sounds like
It
it.
says, great podcast for the firearm enthusiast. Enjoy listening to the Talking Lead podcast. It's my go-to when getting ready and the drive to work. I especially enjoy the special series, the AK Corner.
Nice.
So you're familiar with our AK Corner, right, Andrew?
Absolutely.
And we're
You
going
know
to
I'm
have
AK nut.
we're going to have Andrew. We can't have an AK Corner without Andrew on it. So Andrew's going to be an upcoming episode of that. So
Yeah,
stay
absolutely.
tuned for that. But he's not going to be in this week's or episode 3. Our upcoming episode, we're going to talk ballistics on the AK Corner. We've got none other than David Fortier. He literally wrote the books. He wrote the book
And
on
the AK book.
on the AK. It's called the AK book. We're going to have him on. We're going to talk ballistics and some other things. We're going to pick David's brain. We're going to give away a AK parts kit so you can build your own AK. And then we're also going to give away another Hell Pup. So make sure you guys tune in. That's going to be soon after you guys are getting this show, episode 261. The 17th is when we're going to release that. So there's the date. So you guys make sure you stay tuned. So John Adams III, thank you for your we got a 5-star rating, baby, from John. So thank you for that. Thank you for the feedback on iTunes. You guys make sure, if you haven't done so yet, go to iTunes, whatever podcasting app you're listening to us on. Leave us some feedbacks. Leave us a rating. That's how we get up more recognition on these apps, and people can find us easier. But you can also tell your mother, tell your brother, tell your cousin, tell your uncle, tell your next door neighbor. Listen to the Talking Lead podcast. The best podcast there is, Andrew. Nobody gives you more than Talking Lead.
Oh, I agree 100%.
100%, baby. 100%. And Andrew's got some new things going on we can't talk about right now, but when we have him on again in another episode, he'll get you up to date on all the cool things that he's getting involved with these days.
Absolutely.
And then we've got our IV 8888888 annual YouTube Range Day coming up in Georgia. So we're
It's going to be a big time as always.
It's going to be a large time. We're going to have a good time there. There's an event, speaking of first aid for you law enforcement, first responders, EMT. There's an event coming up, and I've got it right here. The 2nd annual New York Tactical EMS Expo and Training Symposium. That is coming up the 1st of January. We've been invited to go out to that. So you guys that are listening, check into that. There's so it's going to be in Long Island, New York on January 5th through the 6th 2019. We're actually going to get those guys on. They're going to talk about that. So for you guys that are interested in going and attending to that, we'll have all the updated information on how you can attend that symposium. It ought to be pretty good. We're talking about getting your training. This would be a great place to do that. They're going to offer classes and probably certifications and stuff like that during that event. And then, of course, that leads into what, Andrew? SHOT Show.
Oh yeah, the old shit show.
The old shit show.
This will be my 17th or 18th.
Yeah.
So sit down and figure that out.
I think it'll be our 5th or 6th.
Yeah.
You're way ahead of us. You've been going since you were like 3, though. So.
I was young.
Since you were young.
Younger. How about that? I've been going since I was younger.
There you go. And then the Utah shoot. Got some changes on that. You guys know the dates changed. I still hadn't got a definite. That should be going on the end of this month. The Charlie Melton world record long shot, rifle shot. So we're still working out the complete details on that, and we'll keep you posted on that. So hopefully that's something that we'll be able to get to attend as well. So as always, make sure you guys are supporting those that support this show. The official optics of Talking Lead, Right On Optics. The official wristwear of Talking Lead, Defi Watches. Modern Spartan Systems. Another thing that you guys want to put in your kit, your survival kit, to keep your guns clean. Operational Modern Spartan Systems lines of cleaning products for your firearms, lubricants, and then they've also got that awesome TVT engine oil additive that you're going to want to put in your vehicles, your generators, anything with an engine that's going to help get you through those rough disaster. What am I saying? Survival, disaster, catastrophes. Catastrophic events. How about that?
Catastrophic events.
There you go. We'll get it that way. X Steel Targets.
X Steel Targets.
The best, most affordable AR-500 steel targets on the market today. xsteeltargets.com. Check them out. There still may be some of those deals that they were running. They were running like 45% off on some of their targets and then 25% off everything else. You guys go xsteeltargets.com. They still maybe have some of that stuff in stock. It was while supplies lasted. So check them out. But otherwise, I mean, even their normal prices are very affordable for AR-500 steel targets. I'll get it out in a second. And then, of course, Pioneer Arms, sponsoring the AK Corner, Talking Lead AK Corner, coming up next episode. And we're going to be giving away the kit and the Hell Pup. And then, like the awesome shirt that Andrew's wearing today, you guys can't see it, but if you want the Leadhead Brigade t-shirt, you guys go to 1776united.com and you can get those. Probably the most comfortable t-shirt there is on the market today. And then, of course, our original Talking Lead t-shirt logos are there as well. And the patches for the Leadhead Brigade, you can get them there too. And you want those awesome Talking Lead black assault mugs, you go to dip123.com/Talking Lead for my good buddy Danny over at Dipstick Hydrographic.
Dipstick Dizzy Whistle. We will be seeing very soon.
That's right. We're going to be seeing him in Georgia when we go to the YouTube shoot. So things that we're looking forward to there. Make sure you go and support those that are supporting us. Go to their YouTube pages, go to their Facebook pages, go to their Instagram pages, go to their websites and order these products because they are products that I've used, I've tested, and I wouldn't be pushing and promoting them unless I believed in the products. So Andrew, again, thank you so much for taking the time to be on, and we hope all your family members and everybody's okay. Thoughts and prayers, definitely.
Yep, TMP, baby. TMP to everybody out there.
TMP, but if you need anything from me, we're here.
Absolutely, brother.
Me and T are here for you guys. Send your family. If you need extra places to stay, send them here. We'll take care of them.
Yep. Hopefully they're not going to get hit too bad, but we'll see what happens. Everybody near the coast is evacuated. So. And
one more time, Sheepdog Impact Assistance, sheepdogia.org. Go there and see how you can volunteer and take part in their disaster recovery missions. All right, Andrew, let's wrap it up.
Do it.
Brings us to the end of another episode of the Talking Lead podcast. As always, Leadheads, keep your loved ones close.
your firearms closer.
And your disaster recovery plan in place, up to date, and well stocked.
Absolutely.